Oh, and welcome to the first ever edition of SimDemocracy Pod. We're hoping to bring you a weekly podcast where we talk about the community and what's going on in the executive, legislative, and the judiciary branches. Today's episode is called The Phantom Menace, as it was supposed to be surrounding the 16 alter counts that affected the recent election. But unfortunately, the Attorney General wasn't able to make it last minute. So instead, you get to look forward to a rant by myself about the election. And hopefully next week we will have the Attorney General join us discussing the trial, the processes in the trial, and if it hasn't concluded, the next step, and if it has, what happened. We will also kickstart our weekly series. It's going to be called Featured Senators, and it's going to be a different senator every week. And this week we start with Stalin, the Speaker of the Senate. He's also referred to as Cocaine Mitch. But first, we kick off with the vice president, Johns themselves. Johns has spent the last 2 weeks working alongside iMade, who is, of course, the president. They created the Minecraft server. They did a few other things, mainly bringing back the economy bot and some stuff regarding that. But they also want to talk about the next 2 weeks, as they will be running alongside iMade for the presidency again, but also a separate campaign where they themselves will hope to become presidents of SimDemocracy. So without further ado, let's begin. Perfect. So moving on, we are here today with Johns, who is iMade's current VP. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you today? Everything good?
Yeah, everything's fine. How about you?
Perfect. So jumping right in, the past 2 weeks, you've been a VP to a rather successful presidential campaign, if I have to say so myself. It's been interesting to watch. What would you say was the biggest achievement that you and iMade have had this term?
I would have to say it's a Minecraft server, and of course also the reset of the economy, but that's still kind of ongoing. But the Minecraft server turned out really well, I think.
That's something that we've seen. We've asked a few users some questions that they would like to put towards you and some things that they enjoyed. And one thing that kept coming up was a Minecraft server. What do you see? How do you see this progressing in the future? What are you guys thinking of doing outside of the presidency with the Minecraft?
The Minecraft server, I'm actually not that big of part of it. I'm kind of in with planning it too. So there's still the integration with the economy. That's a thing people are considering. Not tying it to any Minecraft item though. That's not what we're gonna do. There's also now lots of buildings and events. We're considering holding some events there.
Like gaming events or maybe Senate debates?
Maybe even Senate debates, but that would be harder to do. And I don't really know, because not every senator has a Minecraft account. So that could be an option. That would be really cool, but I don't know if it's feasible.
I think I would download Minecraft to watch one of those play out. It'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Talking then while we're on these kind of games and whatnot, the Department of Community, you guys have bought it back.
Yes, well, we brought it back. It technically existed under a different name, the Department of Engagement, but nobody actually did anything with it. But now it's back and it's hosting game nights, and I think Kyo is the leader of it right now, and I think he's doing a terrific job.
I've done some research and I've looked into it, and I can't find anything that's any legal documentation saying that there's a head of the community department right now.
Really?
Yeah. Is there anything that you could say about this?
Well, I don't actually know what's happened there, because the announcement has been made and the appointment has been made by the Secretary of Expansion in the expansion server. But I don't know if it's anywhere else.
All right, then that could be why then. Maybe it's just not publicly announced, but announced within the department, most likely.
Yeah.
All right. And would you say it's been successful in the past 2 weeks of having the DOC back? What's been done? Has there been any successful games or
Yeah,
anything
there's
going on?
been. Yeah, I think they hosted a Crusader Kings 2 game night or something. I heard that went very well, and there's obviously a lot planned for future, and even things like Fortnite are being brought to the table, which
And we hear a lot of some there is talking a lot about Fortnite.
yeah, Sunbear really wants it,
I mean, if
and
it's
I'm not really.
possible and it gets
Mm,
people together, why not, eh?
yeah, because yeah, I don't see why not. If it's like easy to do, why not?
So what we've had so far, from what I found, because now on the website there's a calendar. We've
Yeah,
had the game night on the Minecraft server, and we've had a dragon game, which I've never heard about, but it
Dragon
sounded
game.
pretty cool.
Cool.
So we two successful game nights so far. I made us running again with you as the VP. If there is another term, what else could we see with the DOC?
I don't really know. We'll probably continue with the events, trucking along. Nothing like huge planned, but I think it's doing
Do you
fine.
think the
And
community should have more of a role? Oh,
the communities should have more role. I mean, yes, there could be like suggestions by the community, and we would take them to account. That's an idea worth considering. Maybe a Reddit post every week with requests or something in the comments.
be like a poll.
Yeah, Paul. Good idea.
Okay, perfect. Now, going on to some more of the stuff that you've been involved with, the economy and the budgets. You guys did an amazing job on getting the economy back into the server.
Well,
And you managed to write up. Personally, I think it's an amazing budget. I'm really happy with it. What do you think? If you can actually give us some information about the dramatic decrease in the value of Tau.
yeah, well, because we're going to do the reset anyway, which is basically the easiest way to go from here, because the economy was a mess. There's just no way going about it. It was a horrible mess, and it did not work
There's no
last time.
way around that. It was
Yeah,
a mess.
and I think. And now we are starting all over again. I think it's just a good idea to make town worth less, because we can't actually have it be decimals. There's no cents of tau. So precise transactions are very hard to do when people get tens of tau for wages. You can't exactly do like 1.5
That's
euros
a
or
very
anything.
interesting point.
Yeah, and that's like it's very limited what you can do because you have so little to play with. But when you have more money, you can pay something like 150 or even 15 for a little thing as a tip. You can do a lot more with it, and really, it's just better all around. I don't see any negatives to doing it.
Perfect. I agree. To be honest, I'm very much of, if we're going to do the economy, we've got to do it as realistic as possible.
Yeah, but to
Um,
your earlier thing, you said we
yeah,
got the economy back, but I think that's actually a bit misleading because it's technically not like it's technically back, but it's not actually back yet because we are holding it out until Senate actually passes legislation. So it's not a disaster like last time.
my apologies. Thank you for correcting me there. What I was meaning to get across is that we've got the bot back,
Yeah.
and the idea of having a integrated economy is back on the table.
Yeah.
So thank you for correcting me. We don't want to be misleading.
Mhm.
I have a pretty important question. There was something that went wrong, in my point of view, in the last attempts with the economy. It's something that I did sort of abuse, which was the lack of legislation regarding taxes with the private sector.
Yes, that's exactly why we are still not. It's not implemented right now because I think we had a tax code. I think we still have it, but the thing is, there was this whole problem with the TA or whatever. I don't think that exists anymore anyway, and it never got collected. Nothing ever got collected. So there was no taxes. The only income to the government was printing, and it was quite horrible. And this time, yes.
I think you were about to answer my question, which was, what will be different this time then?
Yes, well, personally, I would propose at least actually two taxes, a very moderate wealth tax to incentivize spending, because there was no incentive to spend last time, even to the little what you could buy. And of course, you kind of have to have an income tax along with that, because if you don't go overboard with the wealth tax, that's just not going to give you enough money. And in addition to that, my favorite policy I ever thought up of was channel fee, where if you have an organization and you want more than one channel, you have to pay for it monthly.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a solid idea. It would restrict the amount of channels on the server, as well as increasing the amount of money that the government's holding.
Yeah, it's basically all positives, because we do have a lot of channels right now.
We're preaching to the choir right now.
Yeah.
If there's one person who knows about the number of channels in the server, it's me.
Yeah, the Discord supervisor. Who would have thought?
So in the next 24 hours, is there anything else that you and iMade may pull out of the bag? Anything that we're not expecting?
I don't think so. Really, I have not discussed anything with iMade yet. So this presidency will probably not have any surprises here. And to be honest, I'm not even that involved in the iMade campaign this time around. I'm just going to be the vice president again. I'm more involved I've been more involved on my own campaign.
We'll be coming to that in a second.
Yeah.
We have Awesome Blocks asking a question about it. Okay. Well, he wanted to bring it up, so we'll definitely move on to that in just one moment.
Yeah, sure.
But is there anything else, looking back in the past 2 weeks, that you believe that iMade and yourself should have done a little bit differently?
I think we should have done more. That's easy to say, but we did a respectable amount. But I think we could have done more, and we could have gotten the Minecraft server up faster, for example, and but because we just overlooked some technical things that led to some problems. And I think honestly, if we would have pressured the Senate more, we could already have the economy up and running. But all things considered, I think it was still a pretty productive presidency.
I think the general consensus is that it was a productive 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It could have gone a lot differently with what was going on behind the scenes prior to the election. So I would just like to say congratulations on the past 2 weeks.
Thanks, Ian.
Now, moving on to the next 2 weeks, Awesome Blocks, as I mentioned, he's asked if we can bring up the election of Jont as the supreme leader of SimDem. So, is there anything policy-wise that would differentiate you from the rest of the candidates?
Well, lots, really. I've released my presidential program, actually, on the Reddit. You can check that out. And I think I've got more and more well-thought-out positions than most candidates. No disrespect. I think like Xvillain and FakeReal and iMade would do a great job as president also. But I think I've got the clearest view on economy, which we already discussed a bit. The different kind of taxation and founding public corporations that you can privatize later and all that. And of course, my views align a lot with some of the others, but I think I've written them out much better, to be honest.
Okay. Well, you're running with FakeReal Redditor this time as your VP.
Yeah.
Why him? Or her?
Well,
sorry, them.
Yeah, FakeReal is a very good candidate. I've supported his presidential runs in the past. I'm quite sad he actually hasn't, or they haven't made president yet. But I think they did well as Xvillain's VP last time, and they got great ideas. Our ideas align very well, mostly, and it was a logical choice. If I was not going for the other logical choice would have been go for a fun VP, but did
Oh,
not.
really? So you'd like some cross-party agreements, trying to get as many people agreeing with you as possible. That's a good strategy.
Yeah, because the president, I don't think actually should represent a single party. They should like be more of a representation of all the people and do what the people as a collective want. In the Senate, you have party politics, but in presidency, it's not as big of a deal, in my honest opinion.
That's a very good opinion and good point. I have to agree with that, actually. The party politics should be left for the Senate.
Yeah, to legislation and all that, but the executive is a different thing.
All right. Now, what's interesting is you're actually running as VP again with
Yes.
iMade as well as Nova.
Yeah, actually, I actually did not know I was running with Nova
that
until
was-
I
yeah.
read the CFC.
Fantastic. He has Nova is completely unpredictable. That's what I
Yeah.
love about the guy. So you're not endorsing yourself or Nova as the presidential pick?
I will not endorse Nova's president campaign. I'm sorry.
All right. Now you mentioned on your CFC you would like to bring in public corporations for people to spend the TAU on. Can you go
Yes.
into that?
Well, like we saw last time, people actually, there were lots of corporations, but they were all like banks or like homoerotic fan fiction, and like yeah, and I think if people are not going to run these corporations themselves at first, I think the government should found some varied corporations with different kinds of services you can buy, and in the end we can sell those shares of those corporations to private buyers gradually.
So what you're wanting is to make some state goods, some public goods, and then privatize them later on.
Yeah, because this is a way to get the private sector going later. It's just not happening now. People are just not doing what is needed. So it'll be easier if we set.
Going on.
Yeah, I think it will be easier if we set things up first and then just let private entities take over later.
Perfect. Well, we're going to have to cut it short. We have to end it there. We've been going on for about 15 minutes now, so that was a fantastic interview. Thank you, Jons. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the listeners before you leave?
Yontonomics are good. Vote for me.
All right. Well, thank you for dropping in. Good luck with the presidential election, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Now we're moving on. We are doing our weekly featured series of the featured senators. And starting today, we've got the Speaker, Stalin, or also known as Cocaine Mitch. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Perfect. Right. You ready for some questions?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. So Toast has put one in. He's saying, what's it like to be a senator? Why do you like it? And why did you run?
Let's see. So, what is it like being a senator? There's a lot of debates on policies, but this one especially has been very debative. I've noticed.
Yeah.
And we also have these. You might see them, the Senate VCs, where we talk a lot of policy together.
I've noticed, but I only get to see this because I'm the supervisor. But I have noticed there's a lot more debate and discussion going on in the Senate chats now.
Yeah, the Senate chats. Yeah, the Senate chats are much more. Conflict.
You're saying it's better or worse than the last times you were speaker or PM as it was back then?
It's a lot more work as speaker. It's a lot more work because you have to deal with like these amendment stages and all that. It's more work.
Right.
Definitely.
What do you think? This is still Toast asking this. What do you think is the biggest factors that determine if a candidate wins to become a senator?
Name recognition.
Name recognition, so popularity
Name
contest.
recognition, or being an incumbent. An incumbent. Those are the top two things. Name
Or like
recognition and
top
being an
seven,
incumbent.
7 Senate streak or whatever it was.
I was on a 5 Senate streak.
Okay. He's obsessed with expansion integration. What do you think we can do to expand and integrate?
My personal opinion is that's the executives. However, if I could, the ad campaign for expansion has proven to work with voting at least. That I was skeptical at first, but then I saw the voter turnout when it was tried, and I'm just like, whoa, that actually worked. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
For
that was
integration, this is probably like going to be a very long term thing, but like simplifying laws so it's easier for people to get in, like making it easier to, or maybe like a more simplified like code of laws, so we don't have like a 30-page criminal code that could also be
agree with you
useful.
on that. When I first joined the server, I thought, it's a democracy simulator. It should be based off real life documents. It should be realistic as fuck. But it just doesn't work. Where, people don't have the expert knowledge, none of us do.
We have like 2 law students, which is honestly, I'm impressed we even have 2. So
to be honest, that's also a good point. Right, then moving on. The Minecraft server.
mm-hmm.
You play Minecraft, right?
I've played the Minecraft server. Yeah, we have the Dubai, the flying ethno state of Dubai is my
What?
It was something that like Calvin came up with. That's our name.
Do you think the server will survive?
The Minecraft server? It depends it depends if people start putting it. It depends on how much work they put into the server. If people just stop, if the admin just stop putting work in the server, it will die eventually.
Fair point. Fair enough.
So it depends how much it depends how much they're willing to put into it.
So again, it's based upon the Department of Community and the administration of the
just whatever the administration is. Yeah, however much time they're willing to spend on it. Otherwise, it will eventually die. Because I have a bit of experience in hosting servers before, and I can kind of tell you when the admin, which was myself, just goes inactive for a very long time, it slowly dies. It's very slow.
I mean, I guess it's also the same for SimDem.
Oh yeah, SimDem as well. Yeah, like you kind of need people to like actively keep it going. It can't just coast forever.
A question from the Attorney General: why isn't there any Minecraft legislation yet? I guess he's getting a little bit bored. Not doing enough with the law.
Minecraft legislation, like codifying the Minecraft server into law.
That's his question. Why haven't you made Minecraft legislation?
I don't even think the Senate has power to make legislation over the Minecraft server, first of all, because it's not in our jurisdiction. Second of all, I see it as more of the admin should do it, and it should be as flexible as possible. Like, I don't want, like, the burdensome rules of the Senate on a fucking Minecraft server. Like, Jesus Christ.
No authoritarian rule over the Minecraft server, then.
I mean, like, I don't know, if they want to form their own little cute little Senate, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I don't want their, I don't want the fucking massive burdensome rules over the server. Like, I don't want, like, 18 pages of laws just for a fucking Minecraft server.
Fair enough. Understood. Free speech or anti-hate speech?
I consider myself more in the free speech camp.
Why?
The main reason is it could get abused if you don't. Like, I don't want. You should be able to say whatever you want without the risk of being banned for it.
Agreed.
And my opinion is not all speech is good speech, and you can't just ban the bad speech. That's nearly impossible.
Yes, it's a case of how far can you take the line.
How far I can take the line?
How far, if you're bringing in hate law, how far is too much?
I might say like open and blatant like slurs against someone else. I might probably say is the line, but I'd be willing to compromise for some a middle ground there.
All right, fair enough. Personal goals for this Senate. What do you want to get done?
I'd say economic laws are probably a decent short-term goal. Like trying to simplify those. I hosted an economy debate. I believe it was Friday. Yeah, Friday. I hosted an economy debate, and the main thing that came out of it is we kind of all agreed on what tax system we want, which was a wealth tax.
Perfect. Well,
It's a pretty.
you had an agreement with the senators.
Hold on, say that again. Wait, I didn't hear you. Sorry, what?
I thought. Oh, okay. I said great that you managed to get an agreement with the senators.
Yeah, I think a majority of us were there at one point. I think we had 5 out of the 8 of us.
Oh, good turnout.
And the president popped in. We had a few other people pop in. It was pretty poppin'. It was about an hour and a half long. It's pretty poppin'.
Nice.
I'm impressed in how well it went.
Well, hopefully next time we need something big happening, the Senate can come together again.
Yeah, that's kind of was my main thing as a speaker that I wanted to do. Is that if there's something that major that came up, I wanted the whole Senate to be together to make that decision.
Great. And what's your thoughts on the Department of Foreign Affairs removal?
All right. So at first, I actually thought that we should keep a Secretary of Foreign Affairs and maybe a deputy if they want it. But then I started thinking of my presidency, like, well, you had a few foreign affairs debacles, like the history meme stuff. How did you use your Secretary of Foreign Affairs? And my only answer to come up with is I merely used him as an advisor and just did it myself. I didn't let him do it. So then that was kind of the decision. I'm like, well, I don't need one. I could just axe it and maybe ask someone else, or wait, we don't need a department for this. And
Yeah.
I just appointed ambassadors willy-nilly, so you know.
It is a shame to get rid of it, but nobody uses it. You're right. Nobody just uses it anymore. So
Yeah, no one uses it. Yeah,
could it lose?
and no one even cares about the Department of Foreign Affairs. No one
Now,
cares.
finally, what's your biggest concern within SimDem, and what can you do as senator about it?
My biggest concern, I'd say the simplification of laws, but that's just like trying to overhaul the entire SimDemocracy rulebook is such a Herculean task that like no one man can do it unless they want to like spend like 80 hours trying to do it. So that would be like a massive thing to work with. I think maybe a good place to start with is a criminal code simplification because that's what the average user sees more.
Yeah.
Maybe Senate voting simplification. We could probably start in those 2 areas.
Basically, integration.
Integration, yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And now, one question that I forgot to include: how do you feel about the Senate?
The Senate, it's one of the more competitive Senates I've seen. Like, there's a lot more debate going on and all that. Probably a bit more of conflict going on between a few senators. I won't say who, but there's some conflict.
Can you give us a scoop?
No, it was in private Senate chats and all.
That's a shame. That's a shame. Understandable, but that's a shame.
I know, it's probably a shame.
Well, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you.
We hope to welcome you back one day soon.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the first ever podcast from SimDemocracy Pod. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.